Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I'm here with my guest, Manvir Dhaliwal. And Manvir and I met, we haven't ever spoken before, but we met through I was listening to an interview that you did with Regina Thomasauer. And I know that we both came across her from different ways. I was at a conference that she, in a program she had last year in 2019. So I saw your interview with her and I loved your energy and I wanted to learn more about what you did because you seemed like a very happy person. So I wanted to talk to you. So thanks for being on the podcast today. I'm really happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. So I know a little bit about what you do only because I connected on LinkedIn with you, but let's tell everyone what you do now and how you got to a place of really looks like you love what you do. And if you're loving what you do, how you got to that place now. And did you set out to be where you are here right now?
Thank you. Okay, so that's a big question.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I'm 48 years old, and I started my career off in tech in Silicon Valley, and just I loved Silicon Valley, and I loved the energy that we were going to change the world through technology, and so that's where I started, and then I ended up getting married, having two children that are now 14 and 16, two boys, and also had a divorce, right? And so that was over a decade ago, and came to this point in my life of, wow, what's the next right step, right? And also following like faith and spirit and guidance, you know, am I just going to go back and work in tech, right? Like, what would be the next right step? And I'm very intuitive and psychic, and so I have a lot of other skills that wouldn't necessarily go on a resume, and most people do, right? But, you know, our resumes only look at like college education and so forth, right? But it doesn't look at what are these other not so tangible that you can't quite quantify these skills. And so I was questioning life and wondering, you know, where do I go now? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I'm very good at manifesting basically anything that I've ever wanted, right? And so I was the person that would have the vision boards and put up something and it would show up. It was really easy for me. And I got bored of that. I was like, this like, well, and I had read a book by Tosha Silver where she had taken her vision boards and she had burned them on the beach one time. And then she said, I'm just going to let the divine and spirit guide me and figure out what I'm going to do. I'm like, that sounds like a great plan. Let's see where that adventure would unfold. So I took all my vision boards, lit a big bonfire on the beach, and I burned all of them. And I can listen to messages and hear guidance and tune in to a frequency that allows things to open up. So I walked into a used bookstore and I can feel the energy in a store and go, okay, there. And there was a book a used book called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. I picked it up. I thought, oh, that's weird. I didn't know money had a soul. And read part of it. And 2 weeks later, I went to San Francisco to meet my mentor, Marcy Shimoff. So I was at her house, and Lynn Twist stopped by. And I thought, okay, that's really super serendipitous, right?
Wow. No such thing as coincidences, right?
Well, that blew me away, right? And so she was there for about 20 minutes, and I was sitting there. I'm like, I have your book. And she was like, oh, that's nice. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So she stopped by, and then she left. And I thought, wow, that was really serendipitous. And then 3 weeks later, my older son was in 8th grade at the time. And he went to Peru and to the Amazon rainforest. And I sat in a meditation, and in it, I could see blockchain technology and all this information. And then it was hand out that book to the parents as the kids come back. And I thought, well, that's really weird. Like, I'm going to hand out people this book called The Soul of Money. But, you just got to trust and be courageous and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I said, okay. Did that. Nothing happened. And I thought, well, I just did my part in the universe.
Right.
And then that summer, my son took a global youth leadership class. And he came out of there it was a Tony Robbins Global Youth Leadership class. So I don't know if so Tony Robbins, like, wow, lots of energy.
I know.
Right? Yeah, okay. So I thought, it was going to be a good rah-rah event for my teenager.
Yeah.
And he comes out of there, and he's just, Mom, I'm going to save the Amazon. And he's screaming this. And I thought,
that's what Tony does.
Well, I mean, I was just so like, wait a second, that's not what I was expecting, right? I thought you'd feel good. We're going to start high school.
Yeah.
And like, if you wanted to do something, can we just adopt a couple of puppies from from a shelter and call it good?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But he just kept on saying it. And I was like, oh, wait a second. He actually believes it. He believes he can do something. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if he could, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, next thing you know, I was at a blockchain conference. I'm like, wait a second, is he supposed to be here, right? Because the meditation that I was in from months earlier, and he ended up coming there, learning about blockchain, figuring out basically in one afternoon, like different ways it could be used. And he started getting and he was like, I want to save the Amazon. I think we can do it this way. He started getting invited to all these different companies, wanted to talk to him. And I was like, wait a second, what do we do now?
What?
And right? And then I was like, that woman, Lynn Twist, with that book, she does something with the Amazon. So, so I got a hold of her, and I was like, Lynn, what do you do with the Amazon? And she said, she's been working with the tribes for the past 25 years on protecting to save the Amazon.
Okay.
So then we got invited to San Francisco to go to her luncheon, which is coming up in this November on the 19th. And she said the indigenous people will be there, like if you want to come and have an opportunity to meet them. And so we went and we got there, and it was 1,000 people luncheon, and she said, well, would you like to come to our house? Again, it's just like, okay, just say yes.
Right.
So we went to their house, and the indigenous leader, he was busy, but there were 2 women from the tribes there. And we just sort of said, this is how we ended up here. And both of them, through translators, one said she dreamed about me, and the other one said she dreamed about my son. And so, at the time it didn't click. I mean, she might as well have just told me, oh, you have a nice dress, right? Because I'm like, oh, you had a dream about me?
Yeah.
What? Like, what does that mean?
Oh my God.
But apparently it means something, right? Like, it's significant. so, from there, again, just following like the next right thing and allowing life to unfold. My son got invited by Nexus to go to New York and speak at the UN on ideas on being part of a panel to speak there, while I was with the indigenous people in the Amazon in Ecuador at the same time. I mean, I couldn't have planned this. It was never on my bucket list to go to the Amazon, right? And in the process of it, he also, handed Jeff Bezos his idea on how to protect the Amazon, and Jeff Bezos had responded. So, yeah, so it's been this next right step of, okay, where do we go from here? And what is the next thing that we need to be doing? And so, and it's about having the courage to go, okay, well, I need to pick up the phone and call this person and ask them, like, okay, this is the guidance that we're getting, and this is the next, the next thing. Can we do this? And so this year, with COVID happening, we were working on this project so the indigenous people are a dream culture. And what's so beautiful about them is they go to sleep and they collectively dream the vision of their community, right?
Oh, that's
And they,
cool.
right? And then they wake up and they share those dreams. Like, what was the vision that you got?
Yes.
And then from that vision, they live into that new dream. And then if something isn't working out, there's no blame and shame happening. They just go to sleep and they dream again to get the, and so we thought, and at the time, my younger son, he was, he's 14 now, but he said, well, Mom, how can I help? Like, what's the thing I can do?
Yeah.
And I said, so I started telling him that, the indigenous people are a dream culture, and this is how they move through life, is through dreams and the guidance, and then moving forward. And so he started talking, and he said, well, Mom, me and half of my class lucid dream. I said, what? And he's like, yeah, we can like go to sleep, and then we're awake in our dreams, and we can do all sorts of things. And I'm like, I never knew that, right? Because it's just not a question. Like, we don't go to sleep and then wake up and ask, what were your dreams like?
Right.
And right? And so I thought, wow, okay. Now imagine, and in America, so I'm an immigrant to the US. We came here when I was 13. And so I thought, wow, we came to America because of the American dream.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's whatever that may be, right? There's an American dream.
Right.
And Martin Luther King changed the world when he said, I have a dream, right? And I thought, well, wow, just like any computer code, we just need to dream a new dream. We need an update.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So being, right? Being from the tech world, like, oh, we forgot to do an update.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the indigenous people are constantly updating their dreams. And they also have this saying that if you're here to help us, you're wasting your time. But if you believe that your liberation is tied to ours, then let us work together.
Ooh.
Right?
I love that.
So we thought that, wow, okay, well, we need to be dreaming a new dream. And this year was the 50th anniversary of Earth Day on April 22nd. So the plans that we had ended up being shifted because, COVID hit, and we ended up doing something else. But it's always trusting life and the process, and knowing that we're being guided by something that's, by spirit and an intelligence and God, divine source, whatever you'd like to name it. And so, and of course, it's it's only now looking back that I can say, wow, obviously Earth Day was not the time to be dreaming a new dream, because we did not know all the social injustice that was happening and all the things, with this Black Lives Matter movement. And how could we build a new dream on top of so much injustice and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, that is.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I'm glad I didn't know any of this, because it's just fascinating how you're just the concept of. I'm actually I have a book coming out in the beginning of the year, and one of the chapters is about manifesting. And so I don't know if you ever read that book, Ask and It's Given. It's by Abraham
Abraham
Hicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those books where I read a lot, so I typically go to the library and I return. This is like the one I read it and I'm like, I have to buy it so that I can just mark it up. And I have so many quotes in there that are just unbelievable. But talking about the whole, like you were saying in the beginning with the vision board and like figuring out what you want. I didn't realize how much power any of that had when I was in my 20s, and I'm 51 now too. But I just have been learning about this in the last probably like 5 or 6 years. I mean, I knew I was probably practicing it, but not super either committed to it or realizing the power it had. But I do similar things where I'll just go into the library, or I'll say, I want something new to write about. What is that? And then I'll like get an email about something, and then I'll see an article, and then there'll be a book sitting on some shelf, or I'll walk by a book and they're all the exact same topic that I was just guided to or whatever. So
Right.
It's so fascinating. So what I want to know is the Amazon legacy. So are you and your son working together, or is your main thing helping with technology to get this Amazon to save the rainforest? Or like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do now? And are you working with him?
Super. Yeah. So we're refining our business model and our business plan. And so, it's gone through many iterations of, as we've discovered more information and how other organizations, there's a lot of organizations that are out there, but now, can we use technology to bridge that? I mean, everybody knows that we need to save the Amazon.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. So that's sort of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right?
And everyone knows we have technology, right?
Right. And everybody knows we have technology.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Julie, this iPhone is about a little over a decade old.
Yeah.
Right? And organizations that have been out there are they've been out there for a lot longer than the iPhone. And so all this technology that's available to us now wasn't there back then. Right. And so, so how can we use that in a way that allows us to be more efficient and be a bridge to protect the Amazon? But now though, so we are working on that, but our part now is Vision Quest 2030. That's the project that we're focused on. Because well, in the Bible it says, without a vision the people will perish, right? And where there's vision, there is provision. It's just like how you said, you asked a question, like, what should I be working on? And then all the answers show up for you, right? Well, we don't have a vision of 2030 of us thriving, right? And we don't have a collective vision. Like, what does that vision look like? I had a very interesting conversation with a couple of different people, and they were talking, and they meditate and do all of these things. And they said, when they have these global peace meditations, they said they don't join because they don't know what that looks like. What's the vision of that?
Yeah.
And so can we have thousands and thousands of people sign up to envision the future collectively on a variety of different topics, not just the Amazon, but on health, on education, on social justice, on peace, right? So we had 8 targets that we're planning on going for to vision out 2030.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you're thinking about it Yeah, because that's only 10 years away. Not even now, it's 9 years away almost, right? And like you said, everyone's just so stuck in what's happening in this in 2020 that it's not like it's not going to be forever. And what's it going to look like in 5 years or 3 years or 10 years, obviously. And let's be in a better place instead of just in a scared place, in a contracted place where we're not no one's coming up with solutions. People are doing their own part, but all like kind of separately this year, right? Instead of like collectively, like, yeah, what do we want to create? What do we want to manifest? What do we want to experience down the road? Instead of just like now, oh, I can't do what I want to do. I can't go where I want to go. I can't have the college experience I want to have, whatever it is. Everyone's so focused on all of those things because everything we're still getting used to it. But it's not gonna be like this forever. And what do we want to create? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think um, Tony Robbins always said this quote that life is happening for you, right? And
I have that as a screensaver
right,
for you, not to
like
you.
right to
Yeah.
you, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, of course life is happening for me.
Mhm.
And okay, so of course, like all these things had to break down in order for us to create something new,
Mhm.
right? It's only during this time of COVID the like the disparities in education are that much more greater, right?
Yep.
And I think we can all agree that we want everybody's children to have access to great education,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
And how do we do that? And how do we create that? So, how do we imagineer that in a better way, right?
Yeah.
And so, and it's not about making the past like blaming people of where things are at now. It's about we need to move forward. And yes, this has happened and acknowledge what's happened. But, I trust that people want to do good in the world,
Of course. I
right?
love that term Imagineer. Is it a
It's a
Disney?
Disney term,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Of course our kids, grew up watching all those movies and all of that stuff. So it's like Imagineer, like, yeah, they're like they've always been progressive and they're like, what else can we create and how cool can we make things? And that's why it's so popular, those concepts, those movies at those theme parks, because it's always about what can you create and how cool can things be? We need to be thinking that way instead of just like how everything's unraveling and just
Right.
all of the other things. Like we're not going to create better things concentrating on all that stuff. Yeah.
Totally. And again, it's like, you know, Einstein said we can't solve problems at the same level of consciousness that they were created in. I'm like, totally. Okay, so we're just like we're needing to up level,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go there.
Yes.
And if I can do this, anybody can do this, right? And let's imagine a better future, and
Yeah.
let's all go there. I
Yeah.
can and um, and I think this is also giving people like it gave me an opportunity to sit there and say, wow, what's really important to me in my life and in my family and our home and our my children and then go from there.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. Your
yeah.
boys it's awesome that you're working with them on all of this now. And it's so important. I'm actually, my book that's coming out isn't about parenting. It's about peace, possibilities, and perspective, it's called.
Uh-huh.
And it's all about basically figuring out how to be peaceful and happy and content every day and still manifesting and seeing the possibilities and wanting more for yourself, but also having all of that contentment every day, no matter where you are. I also, I think I'm going to write another one about parenting because it's so these lessons and the stuff that we're talking about with your kids and them seeing you do it and talk about it and your younger son seeing your older son, he's working on this. Now he wants to contribute. It's like, yeah, we want to impart all of this energy and all this excitement when they're younger so that they can start going and doing better things earlier, not waiting till they're 25 and or just graduated college or whatever it is. Like they can be contributing to all of this way younger than they are. We just
Yeah.
got to get them the right messages.
Oh, absolutely. And there's also this a whole concept of having diversity in the workplace,
Yeah.
right? And the was it Melinda Gates said that technology is a sea of dudes, right? Like there's
What?
technology was a sea of dudes. It was some quote to,
Dudes, like boys, like guys?
yeah, right? And I thought, well, yeah, because they didn't have like the positions created for Imagineering,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or for like, oh, I just need to change my consciousness to be able to tap into like, okay, what could we do? Just, like that question of what's the next book I need to write, or
Yeah.
what's the next topic?
Yeah.
And then it just comes to you.
Yeah.
It's a very different frequency or a way of
Yeah.
doing things. Did you want to tell the or tell the listeners of how we met?
How we met?
Yeah, or like,
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah. Well, I saw that I said for
oh,
the podcast, I saw you on a podcast. You were being interviewed by Regina. Um,
right.
yeah, and I just the way you were talking and how it was a fascinating story you had, and just growing up and then coming here, and I was like, but I just remember you feeling very like. I remember listening to you and you just were smiling a lot like you are now. And you just seemed very calm and happy. And I was like, oh, I need to talk to her because I want to figure out what she's doing to be so calm and happy and smiley. And yeah.
Yeah, so for those listening who don't know, Regina wrote this book called Pussy,
Yes.
which is a very explicit title, and it means exactly what you think it means.
Yeah.
And I actually met her because she was a guest on a mastermind call for the Amazon, for my Amazon group. So again, it's taking the next right step.
Crazy. So,
So
so she's helping your son in his mission?
no,
No?
no, no, no. So she happened to be the women that I went to the Amazon with, they had invited her. So I went to the Amazon with a group of women.
Okay.
And so Lynn Twist had invited Regina to be a guest speaker to us in our group.
Okay.
And so in that conversation, I had an opportunity to speak with her because my grandmother used to do the practices
Yeah.
that honored the divine feminine
Yeah.
with me as a child. And so that's what led me, down this path, and maybe helped explain why manifesting was so easy for me.
Yeah. Because you
Yeah.
were shown it at a really young age. I think
Yeah.
I just so wish I was exposed to it at a young age. And I wish so I've been exposing my kids to it as they've been growing up, and now they're 18 and 23. I've been talking about it for a long time, but I not as much as I wish I would have now. And you can really see how impactful it is,
Yeah.
and how fun it is, and it's just a better way of living because you're not just. It's just like you said, it's changing your consciousness and changing your way of thinking about things, and it's easier, it's freer, it's more exciting, it's more positive. It's like all of those good things. You just feel more relaxed about it, like just an easier way of being in the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, life is a game. We're here to enjoy it. We're here to experience it and sense it. And I think, now more than ever during these times, it's a message that many people, I wish many people knew,
Yeah.
right? Because, we need to have hope, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to have hope so we can get up every day, and we know that the future can be brighter, and things are gonna work out, and things are gonna be better, and all of that. And if you don't have any of that, it's hard to get up every day and do what you do and work on what you work on. Yeah.
Right. And trust in life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I wanna close with a question. Which one would you like to answer more about? Advice for, I'm sure you probably talk to your kids about this all the time with their ages being teenagers, but helping to guide them follow their strengths. And I'm guessing I probably already know what you would say about that, a way to how they can be successful and use their strengths and find a meaningful career? Or would you rather talk about something you wish you'd learned earlier in your life? Which one of those?
Um,
Would be more helpful?
okay, so um, sure, I'll talk about something I learned earlier
Okay.
in my life.
Okay.
Okay, so I think something that I learned earlier that was really helpful was um, to trust myself, even when everybody was against me, and I was brought up in a really conservative Indian family where you're, you grow up, you go to school, you go to college, you stay home, you don't move out, you get married,
Yeah.
right? And I wasn't any of that. I'm like, forget this. I'm moving to California. Right? I'm gonna be in tech. And it was a really hard time for my parents, because nobody else had done that before, and it wasn't the upbringing that they had. And I know that when I'm the happiest, when I'm excited and lit up by life and loving what I do, it's like magic and things just flow easily. And you're on the right path when you're just feeling better.
Yeah. So true. I,
Yeah.
and it's like, I want people to understand it's not like we're saying like you feel great and then everything's easy and then you don't have to work at anything. It's like, but when things are flowing easily because you are lit up and you are feeling good and your energy is at that higher frequency and feeling that positive, that all of that good energy and stuff, things flow easier because you're manifesting and creating them and thinking about them in a space that is more like you said, like life-giving and experiencing all of that positive stuff. So it's like it's a concept it's not easy to explain to people, but when
Uh-huh.
you are doing it, when you do meet people that are like that, you're like, what is it about them? What is it about their energy or their flow or their or peace or whatever you're feeling around them or about them? It's usually because, like you said, you're just trusting things, you're experiencing life, you're letting things unfold as they're supposed to instead of like grasping tightly to something that's not working or whatever. It's like um, it's not supposed to be all that hard all the time. It's not that you don't have to work hard, but life's
Yeah.
not supposed to be you feeling that constricted, frenetic, controlling everything. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah. And and I don't want to say that like there's never hard moments or hard days,
Yeah.
right? It's it's like there are days where it's like, gosh, I don't know if I can trust this,
Yeah.
right? Like, it didn't quite go the way that I thought it was supposed to. And then I'm just, you know, call a couple friends, right? That speak possibility back and
Yeah.
go, okay, it's okay. What's the next right step,
Yeah.
right? In this moment, because all we have are like these moments. And so
Right.
what's the next right step?
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that advice too. You probably tell your kids to do that. And we tell them to ask us. We tell them not to ask their friends when they're teenagers because the other teenagers don't know anything either. like if they're confused about something and then they ask other teenagers, they're usually more confused when they're done. So we always say, if you're feeling something or you wonder about something, let's talk about it and let's do the next right thing. If this doesn't feel right to you, why is that? Are you just stressed, or is it really just it's not feeling right because it's not really what you should be doing? Is it too hard? Or do you want to give up because it's more work than you thought it was going to be, or do you want to give up because it's really not the right thing for you? Like, let's figure out what it is instead of
Uh-huh.
just reacting, um, and really asking the right questions and stuff, because it's hard for them at those ages. Well, I think two things. It's easier for them to like be feeling things and they don't know to trust it. I think that comes more easily because they're not as infected with all the crappy life stuff that we have been by our ages. So some things come to them more easily, but I don't think they know to trust it. And then they don't know how to question it because they don't have that wisdom and that experience to say, huh, they might be feeling something, but then someone squashes it or tells them, reacts in a certain way. And then they just don't even consider it again.
No, I think, yeah, it's absolutely what you're saying is that if there's one thing that we can teach our kids is, trust yourself,
Yes.
right? And there's this quote, I think it's an Einstein quote, it's that everybody is a genius, right? But if you asked a fish to climb a tree, it would spend its whole life thinking that it's stupid. And so, um, and so one of the questions I always wonder is like, what is their genius? I wonder what that is. Like, I get to be a witness in discovering that and seeing that unfold.
I love
Like,
it.
just with curiosity and awe, right?
Yes. I love that. I love that you're bringing up curiosity, because that's one of the chapters in my book, because it's such a integral part of being happy and peaceful and content in your life, but it's not really talked about a lot. That curiosity, that asking the right questions and figuring out stuff and wondering and about the possibilities, it's so powerful, but it's not necessarily encouraged, I think, especially in education. And it's like, go take these classes. It's science, it's math. It's like, just do what we're telling you to do. Fill out this paper. Do the assignments, whatever it is in school. But they're not encouraged to ask a lot of questions, because that's stressful to teachers, and they have a curriculum to follow, and they need to work on these things, and they need to be done so they can do the next thing. And we squash it because it's inconvenient, but so impactful. We're not squashing it. They can just get to a place of really understanding and trusting themselves better. But we're not made. Our country's not lined up to do that so easily. So we have to keep encouraging them.
Well, here's the thing. Like, we're in America, right? And it's like, wow, America is the dream. Like, it's the dream. It's like the possibility where anything's possible.
Yep.
And so, uh, I take my kids on whatever classes that I find interesting. And granted, they might be kicking and screaming and totally bored and going to them, but they go anyway, right? So they've gone to a Tony Robbins seminar with me, and their friends have gone to a Tony Robbins seminar, and they did the fire walk when they were like 7 and 9. I mean, granted, looking back, they might think, oh my God, our mom was really out there. She made us walk on hot coals. But what happens to kids when they feel that, like, they're not limited, that anything's possible? There's another guy, Vishen Lakiani, of Mind Valley, and we went to an intuition workshop that he had. I was like, I wonder what their intuition's like, right? How do you learn intuition? And you'd be surprised. And Vishen, like, we had classes where you just hold an object of random people and you try and tap into anything about that person.
Yeah.
And
I saw that in
right?
I saw that on something. It's a cool concept. Like, you just hold it and then you try to tell someone about the story of that object, or yeah.
Right. And I think it's from the Silva method is where Vishen had learned it. And I took them there because he said, the future, our intuition and that knowing is going to be much more important than the education that we're learning today, right? Because we've got computers, we've got AI, we've got all sorts of things. And so what are kids going to need to know? I'm like, that makes sense. Intuition, right?
It's funny you're bringing that up, because someone else I was talking to recently was saying, like in 5 years, was it half of the jobs that are going to be out there and needed to be built don't even exist yet, or something like that? Some concept of, we can't even imagine what's going to be needed, because there's so much changing. So like you said, follow your intuition, because all of that other stuff, we'll figure out what we need, because we have enough technology to do all that stuff. But what's coming? Yeah.
right?
So cool. Yeah. I could talk to you forever. It's so,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
same.
fun. Yeah.
Imagineering.
Yeah.
Imagineering.
Imagineering and possibilities. And I love talking about all that stuff. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for all of your insight. And it was just so fun yeah, it's so fun to talk to. Well, that's why I have this podcast. So I get to talk to positive people all the time. And you're no exception. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me as a
Aw,
guest and letting me share our message.
you're welcome. And I want to, so if someone wants to learn more about what you're doing, tell them how they can do that. And then I'll get the information in the show notes too. How can they support the Amazon?
Super.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be launching we're launching Vision Quest 2030. So start looking for that. So it'll be on visionquest2030.com. I'm not quite sure what date this podcast will go out,
Okay.
but as it goes out, sign up to participate in Vision Quest 2030 because your dreams matter, your ideas matter. And we want to take all of that and synthesize that to see what people are imagineering for our future.
I love that. Just like brings me back to when the concept of collaborating and brainstorming is like wasn't even in, I don't remember learning that when I was in first grade or whatever, but now it's a big thing and obviously in education, but sitting around and like people are so powerful when they're sharing ideas and collaborating and dreaming together of what can happen instead of just, doing all that in a vacuum by yourself. So that's awesome. Vision Quest. I love that. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.